Marching to Madness takes another journey on the Muss Bus. USC head coach Eric Musselman rejoins Marching to Madness. He's pulled the Trojans into a top five recruiting finish with eight excellent incoming players from across the country and then two quality freshmen. Due to your roster changes, what has become your philosophy on how to restock the team?
The thought process for all of us is that there'll be a little bit more normalcy. Rosters will not be changing as much. We'll have to see if that really holds true. But it's also, just kind of the way society is right now. I mean, there's players that play at multiple high schools, or players that play for multiple AAU programs. So certainly it's going to trickle, to the collegiate game as well. But the hope is, with the way the revenue share is set up, with now the COVID group being gone, that we'll end up transitioning a little bit more roster stability, see slightly less change than maybe we have in the past.
Once the roster is set, what is the process for developing the rotation? How many meetings do you and your staff have with players, watch film, and notate importance?
Well, I think, the 8-week summer session where we're allowed to go 4 hours per week over an 8-week time segment gives you a body of work. Everybody across college basketball, both men's basketball, women's basketball, they all have their own philosophy. Some people are doing four-person groups where they're just doing skill work, individual shooting. We like to use our hours with full team practices. And so what our goal is after 8 weeks is to try to have everything in, meaning a zone offense, baseline out of bounds package, late game situation, free throw attack situations, 3 different ways to play defensive pick and roll. And then when we come back late August throughout the month of September and October, we use that 10-week time frame to try to clean everything up. So a lot of the implementation we're doing now. So there's a lot of teaching, and then we'll come back and fine tune everything those last 10 weeks before we actually play a regular season game.
In my opinion, the 4 Pac-12 schools that moved into the Big Ten, it feels like a disadvantage for the West Coast schools with scheduling and travel. It's a tougher flight excursion west to east, as I think most people know. So, what are ways to try to compensate to help, to control the schedule with that travel?
Yeah, I mean, it's super difficult for the 4, West Coast teams. It's not just that, we travel, 4 trips. That in itself, when everybody else is only taking 1. But then you add in the fact that, when they're traveling to LA, they're playing UCLA and USC, 2 schools that basically 10 miles apart. So there's 1 flight involved. So it's a huge disadvantage. I look at it really like it's roughly 3 to 5 games disadvantage, probably you're 4 games in the hole. I've done the travel for many years in the NBA. I know what it's like to go west to east. And it is a lot different than going east to west. Your sleep pattern, getting up in the morning for a shoot around. I mean, it's how can you combat that? The only way that I know to is basically what USC women did and UCLA women's teams. They just had a great talent and they were able to go on the road and win it at an elite clip, but they also had Final Four type talent on those teams. So you got to upgrade your talent because you're gonna be affected. And really, Ken, it's not the games it's not the road games. It becomes even more difficult when you come home. We played our 2 worst home games after long East Coast trips: Minnesota at home and Ohio State at home. So we felt the most effective game that we had was your home game following a 2-game East Coast trip. So you're talking about 3 difficult games. Everywhere you go in the Big Ten on the road is sold out. And so we also have a disadvantage playing at home as well, because whether it's a Charger game, whether it's a Rams game, whether it's a USC basketball, there's going to be a lot of Big Ten fans from opposing places just because Los Angeles is such a melting pot, and it's such a great destination for teams to travel on the road when you can be in one city and just drive back and forth and see two road games.
Yeah, even then, it felt like you guys or UCLA might be in the Midwest or on the East Coast. You come home and then they're waiting there for you for like 2 days or something. I mean, I'm the same way. I go to LA in a heartbeat.
No, we actually, I think Ohio State was out here 5 days while we were playing Maryland Rutgers. So,
Wow.
the disadvantage is it is what it is. I mean,
Mhm.
when you're only playing the other teams, we play Washington, Oregon, UCLA. We play those teams twice. All the other teams we only play once.
Mhm.
So, like to really feel like, you're part of a conference at times, it feels like they're just, those other, 15 games, 16 games, those games are just like one-offs. You know what I mean? It's like
Mhm.
non-conference games when you're only playing somebody one time. In other words, we play so many of the Big Ten games. We play those teams once. Well, that's what we do in non-conference as well. So I guess you feel a part of the conference, once you are in it for an extended many of years, and then also once you get to the Big Ten tournament, then it feels like we're truly part of the conference. But right now, with the way the travel is, it becomes a little bit more difficult if you're not playing everybody twice.
Now you're bringing in one of my favorite players and one of my favorite dudes there, Chad Baker Mazara from Auburn. He's such a wonderful personality, which it seemed to permeate through the Auburn players, the last couple of years. Plus, I mean, when that ball's tossed up, man, his focus is clearly on how can I beat this guy on this possession?
Yeah, Chad's a character. I mean, he
Yeah.
adds life to practice. He plays with great passion. He's a player that opposing fans like to get on, but he's also somebody that gives your team a personality. He gives your team an identity. And so his experience playing for Bruce Pearl, playing at Auburn, we think is really, really going to help us when we go on the road, especially.
You've got point guard Rodney Rice from Maryland as an excellent addition as well. 13.8 points in 31 minutes per game last season. The Terrapins ventured into the Sweet 16.
Yeah, Rodney's a guy that obviously last year played a lot of off guard. We're going to run him at much more point than he played
Mhm.
last year. He's got great basketball IQ. He can see the floor. He's unbelievable last year at Maryland, ripping off screens and spacing the floor as an off guard shooter. I think you'll see him get to the basket a little bit more this year and have the ball in his hands a lot more this year than what he did with Maryland. And both Chad and Rodney, we're going to need both those guys because of their experience. Rodney playing in the Big Ten, having great success. Chad playing in the SEC, having great success. We're going to need their leadership on the road as well. But Rodney's a really steady person. He's a guy that's bringing the intensity to work every day in the practice court and in the weight room. And he's a great addition to our team. And we'll be able to play him at the 1 and the 2 and kind of a combo guard, depending on who has the ball in their hands. If it's not Rodney, we certainly want to run plays for him off the ball as well.
In your structure, what has to happen within a player to give him freedom to be more of a playmaker on the court?
Well, I think it comes through trust. It also
Mhm.
comes through evaluation even before you get them. Watching even if a player has limited opportunities in certain situations, you watch and see his reads and if he's got the same mentality that'll fit into your system, and if you have the surrounding pieces that fit and work with him as well on your roster, all those things become factors in who gets the ball, how they get it, where they get it, how many times they get it, and then again who they're playing with and what that role ends up being.
Social media is a huge component in your ability, to communicate. I always enjoy following you online and seeing what's up actually with different teams as well, the pro teams and things. It's awesome now how many players across sports can identify with the Muss Bus.
Well, so, I mean, I think that one of the things that since social media has become a part, like I grew up in a household of as old school a coach as ever in my father, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he was also a great marketer. Like the pregame warm-up that they did at the University of Minnesota to pack the Williams Arena because of a Harlem Globetrotter like pregame warm-up. He was way ahead of his time.
Mhm.
So the marketing aspect, it's part of our job as head coaches. We got to do a much better job at USC of figuring out a way to draw fans into our own building. But we've done it in the past 2 stops at Nevada and Arkansas, and we certainly want to try to continue to market. Social media is a way to help, not just with, with fan base, but also with recruiting, and let the recruits kind of get to know you before you actually get on the phone with them. It's just a way to kind of pull back the curtain and let people inside of your program and inside of what's going on.
You and I have got the thing in common where we both collect sports gear. You're a little bit ahead of me, but I've done it for years. I've got baseball jerseys, NHL jerseys, all kinds of NBA and NFL stuff. Did you start like at a young age doing this, or is it something that's grown with you as a coach?
No, I've always been, I love my gear. There's no question
Yeah.
about it. I know that, it started off at a really young age, going to as many camps as I possibly could, and then wearing those camp shirts, to school. And then, I actually like other sports more than I like basketball. I mean, I'm semi embarrassed to admit it, but the NBA championship game was on the other night, and I'm watching the Dodgers and Padres on TV. So I love the NFL, love MLB.
Mhm.
And so certainly, I guess that's where a lot of the gear collection comes from some of these other sports.
Oh, I understand, man. I understand. It's all good. Hey, last thing, coach, we're talking about the NBA finals now. Oklahoma City pushed away Indiana 120 to 109 last night. Tyrese Halliburton comes up injured. He's questionable, I think, for tomorrow, but it's a 3-2 series lead for the Thunder. So, what's your overall observations of the series? And can the Pacers win these last 2 games and claim the NBA championship?
I mean, I think that Indiana can win game 6. I think to think that Indiana's going to win 2 would be a difficult task. Obviously, Rick Carlisle has done a great job coaching the Pacers. I love watching his teams. Rick actually played for my father with the Albany Patroons. Rick is phenomenal at mismatches. The style of play that the Pacers have created is really good. You're really talking about 2 NBA teams that are changing the professional mindset. Defense is a priority with Oklahoma City. It's a priority with the Pacers. Moving the basketball, playing with pace, those things offensively, the ball moving, the ball having eyes. Both teams do a great job with that. I just think that Oklahoma City is a more well-rounded team, a little bit more depth. And then you start looking at the productivity out of superstars. And right now, Oklahoma City's got 2 guys that are playing at such an elite level. And then for me personally, obviously 2 former Razorback players,
Yeah.
Jalen Williams, who's a backup 4-5, and Isaiah Joe, who's a backup 2 and one of the best shooters in the NBA. When you got 2 guys on one team, you certainly want to see those 2 guys get an NBA ring.
Coach Eric Musselman, man, I appreciate you taking time out of your day there in lovely Los Angeles. And I wish you the best here, Coach, going forward.
Thanks, Ken. Off to the Dodgers, Padres batting practice.
I want to go.